Record. Good morning. This is Coffee Talk, February 1st, Saturday, and I am going to tell you how frustrated I am. Don't worry, it won't be all complaining, but here's the deal. I just came down to my husband literally minutes ago, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do Coffee Talk today because I am so frustrated myself. How am I going to help other people? And he's like, you need to talk about that. And I'm like, but I don't have a solution. So how do I talk about something that I'm frustrated with? Solution. And here's the thing. And I might like, I'm not sure. Here's the problem. I'm not sure what it is, right? So I'm stuck. I'm like 100% stuck in my weight loss journey. And I have like 8 to 10 pounds to lose. And I'm not sure what it is, right? So I realized though when he was talking to me, I'm like, duh, like I can tell you what I'm going to do. Like, cause I'm not going to let this go. I'm not going to just like, whatever it, I still love myself. I still love my body. I'm not close. Okay. So for everybody out there who's like, oh, self-love, I still love myself and I love my body, but I love myself so much so that I need to figure this out for me. Right. Like I want to know how my body works. And by investigating this, I'm going to learn more about myself. And by learning more about myself, I mean, that's a good relationship. Just like me and my husband, we're married and we're not going anywhere. But heck, if we don't work on our marriage every day, if we're not working on our marriage, trying to be a better couple and working on that, if we just let it go and be like, oh, we're married, it's all good, and we don't work on our relationship constantly working on our relationship, then something's gonna give. Like, we're not gonna be a great relationship anymore, right? And so same with my body. I wanna keep working on it and learning about it and understanding it, right? So here's my game plan. I'm going to share it with you because I think it's really, really important for you to know that if you're frustrated and things aren't moving, then you need a checkup from the neck up, right? So first of all, I need to realize that I can't go off of expectations. If I'm following a meal plan, like Ultimate Portion Fix, Time Nutrition, 2B Mindset, if I'm following it to a T, which we'll talk about that for a second, but if I'm following it to a T and things, and I'm like in my head going, oh, great, I'm going to follow it to a T and this week I'm going to lose 3 pounds. There's a problem. You're setting yourself up for disappointment. You can't control how your body's going to work with it, right? The expectation of putting a number per week of how much you're going to lose is a problem. Like, or the amount of, like, I'm going to lose 10 pounds this month. I mean, you can work towards 10 pounds this month, but if you are literally like making that your goal, like I hit my goal, I succeeded. If I lost this much this week, then there's a problem because you can't control what your body's doing. You can control your actions, right? But having that expectation of what it's going to do right away, like, you're setting yourself up for disappointment, right? So we need to look at it more of, I'm going to put in the things that I know are going to work. I'm going to track it, which is something I have to work on. I'll talk to you about in a second. I have to track it and then see how my body is being affected by it, and then tweak it when I need to, if it's not doing what I want it to do, right? So you got to think of it more of like a research project, a science project, right? And a self-love project, right? Because you're working on having a healthier self. So that's what I need to start doing. So here's the steps that I'm going to take. First of all, I'm going to work on my head, in between my ears, the brain up there, my thinking. And one of the things I do for that is by reading personal development. So here are some books that I love. I'm right now reading The One Thing. I love this book. I honestly waited forever to read it. But one of the reasons I love it is really the structure of the book. It's only each section, each chapter is only like 3 pages or 2 pages. So every morning I read it almost like a devotional. I'm only reading like 2-3 pages every morning because it's sectioned off like that. And oh my gosh, the points in here are so awesome, right? So the one thing, I mean, I could go on forever about some of the stories. He talks about Michael Phelps and how he became like this amazing swimmer. But I didn't know this. As a child, his by the age of 6, his coach reported that Michael spent a lot of time on the side of the pool by the lifeguard stand for disruptive behavior. His teacher, who after he was diagnosed in kindergarten, he was diagnosed with ADHD, and his teacher told his mother, Michael can't sit still, Michael can't be quiet, he's not gifted, your son will never be able to focus on anything. Did you know that? That's insane, right? So he talks in this book about, in that chapter specifically, about making creating habits so that you don't need to have discipline, right? So you don't need discipline if you create a certain habit. You only need discipline that first like couple weeks until the habit sticks, right? Same, he talks about willpower and how it's diminishing and how you can figure that out with willpower. Basically, in this whole entire book, he talks about how you don't need discipline, it's a myth. You don't need willpower, it's a myth. And how to achieve your goals without using those things as a crutch, right? So this is an amazing book. Secondly, I have here is Girl Wash Your Face, which is funny because I can prejudge things like no other, and I did not want to read this book. I don't know why, but I had it in my head that I wasn't going to like it. It is an awesome book, and so many of my challengers are in love with it, right? So that's another one. Another one is The Miracle Morning. This one says for network marketers, but there's a regular book, The Miracle Morning, right? That's amazing for your mindset because getting into those morning routines is going to totally help you. And I love this book, Atomic Habits. Such a good book. Read that. Okay, so another one that I personally haven't read, but I've had a lot of my challengers read who they really, really benefited from it, is Mastering Your Mean Girl. That's another one. And it's talking about what you say in your head. It says the No BS Guide to Silencing Your Inner Critic. So that's another good one. Okay, so first step, figuring out what's in between your head. Silencing your stupid words that you say to yourself, right? And learning how to use your inner dialogue to uplift yourself and figure it out. So this morning, really, honestly, within 1 minute, I went from, oh my gosh, I'm so freaking frustrated. How am I supposed to help anybody if I'm so frustrated? Flipped it around and turned it into, dude, you're not gonna give up on this, and you're gonna figure it out, and people need to know that this happens to everybody, and you are a story for that, and you can share that, and you can show people how to flip this around and really work it for yourself and come out stronger the other side, right? So that's just the inner dialogue. You got to switch it. You got to flip the script. You got to talk nicely to yourself and act like you're talking to your child, because no way in heck would you say to your child, just give up. It's okay to be frustrated. Why don't you go cry in the corner for a couple minutes or days or weeks, right? So that's the first thing. I like this one too. I'm reading it right now. Rediscover Jesus, in case you want to work on your relationship with Jesus. It's by Matthew Kelly. I'm really enjoying this one. Also, for the same reason, I like the one, what was it called? The One Thing, because it's broken up into like 1 to 2 page sections. I love that. Anyway, okay. So that's the first thing. Second thing, when it comes to nutrition, because that's what I'm going off of here, it's down to nutrition. I need to re-listen and re-watch the plan that I'm choosing to do. So if I'm doing Ultimate Portion Fix Time Nutrition, I'm going to re-listen to the videos in the Ultimate Portion Fix. Does that make sense? Or if I choose 2B Mindset, I need to re-listen to the 2B Mindset videos. Yes, I listened to all of them. I took notes on all of them. But you know what? I was in a different place then. So no matter where I was, and even if I'm just as frustrated as I was before, I already know certain things about it. So re-listening to it, I'm going to catch on to other things that my brain did not soak in the first time, right? It's going to be different, re-listening and re-watching them. So that's what I plan to do. And I'm probably going to listen to it in the car while I'm driving and not watch the video portion. But that's what I'm going to do. Either that or listen to it while I'm watching TV, making dinner, whatever. I'm going to re-listen to them. So that's number 2. Is that 2? Am I on 2? Number 3, I'm going to track my food. Not for me, I mean, maybe you could do it for you, but for me, it's not to hold myself accountable to what I'm eating. I already feel like I'm doing really well that way, but maybe I'm not. I don't know if I'm not tracking it, right? But I like the idea of tracking because I can see how certain foods affect my body. I am still nursing. My hormones are all over the place. It might not be that I'm not following the plan to a T. It might be that my body doesn't like bananas. I don't know unless I'm tracking it and discovering what works best for me, right? So you can take these programs, you can follow them to a T, but unless you are figuring out how it affects you by tracking it and looking back, there's no way you're really going to know what it is that's really working for you, right? So maybe my body doesn't like steak. Maybe my body doesn't like bananas. Maybe my body doesn't like eggs. I don't know what it is unless I'm tracking it. And the weird thing is, what affects me now might not have been the same thing that affected me 6 months ago, right? Especially as a nursing mom, that's constantly changing. Your nutrition, your body is constantly changing, and what it needs and wants is constantly changing. So going back to tracking for a couple of weeks, what a simple thing to figure out something so core that most people have no clue about when it comes to themselves. You can't walk up to the normal person and be like, what foods does your body really thrive off of? They're not going to be able to tell you. People walk around with a gluten allergy and don't even know it, right? Because they're not tracking it to know what's affecting their bodies, right? So being able to do this for yourself is huge. Now, if you don't want to know and you don't care, fine, whatever. But if you are really trying to dive in and figure this out, then tracking is just big. So I'm going to be using, even if I'm doing Ultimate Portion Fix, I'll probably still use this book. I'm not sure. I haven't decided yet. But this is my third thing that I'll be doing is tracking to discover what's working for me and what's not working for me. Lastly, I'm going to be reviewing what habits are important. Am I sleeping enough every night? Am I, like, while I'm tracking, I'll be able to look at this, right, to review it. Am I sleeping every night at least 7 to 8 hours? 7 to 9 hours. Am I, Cassie's like, no, I am not. Well, let me tell you, I have not slept undisturbed for that long in years, right? So when people say, are you sleeping 7? I might sleep 7 hours, but it is definitely disturbed because my child has not slept through the night ever. And pretty much none of my other ones have either, except for my first one. So anyway, yeah, so whatever. Okay, so I do wake up in the middle of the night. So that one I can't change, right? So then the other ones, water. Am I drinking enough water every day? Am I following the top third of my list of foods? Like, am I eating only food that the sunlight shined on and grew, or, has weathered the elements of being outside, right? So am I eating fresh, real food? If you look at the Ultimate Portion Fix list, the top 1/3 of that list. Am I eating those foods? Am I eating those foods in the carb category that's been touched by light? So not pasta and bread, but more like potatoes and sweet potatoes and quinoa and rice, things that have been grown outside and are full, like not broken down, right? So am I eating those foods? So I have to like double check on these habits and make sure they're in place, because we tell ourselves lies all the time unintentionally, right? And so we might say, oh, I'm not, but when we track it, we might realize I'm taking a bite of my kids' food. I'm eating half of their beach bar. I'm eating the rest of the, even if it's healthy, I'm eating the rest of the food on their plate at dinner. Like, you're not going to know that unless you're tracking it and really paying attention to it. We do lie to ourselves a lot, and it's unintentional, right? It's unintentional, but you're not going to know unless you track it. I think those are all the things. I can only handle so much. I'm only one person, right? And then for me, myself, I already do work out every day. So that part is already established for me. But when I look over this book, The One Thing, I realize that if somebody's not working out every day, that could be their one thing, even without working on their nutrition right away. Because he talks about if you pick the right thing to really focus on and put your efforts into, it will affect all the other things in your life. And I truly believe that if you're exerting yourself with working out every day, really pushing yourself to the limit every day, then you will start thinking differently about other things. Those endorphins will be rushing through your head. You'll be making better decisions throughout the day. I really think working out every day is a very important thing when it comes to pushing all the other things ahead. Does that make sense? You just tend to make better decisions throughout the day when it comes to your nutrition, when it comes to being more calm with your kids, when it comes to your husband and your relationship with him. I just feel like when you get that extra energy and exertion out, really, you're just getting your stress released. I think it really makes a big difference in everything else you're doing. So that, make sure you read The One Thing. I really like this a lot. It's such an easy read, and it's like 2 pages a day. So great. Do we have any questions? Because I kind of just like threw up all over you and then tried to wipe it all up. That, I know that's a really gross visual, but do we have any questions or suggestions? Tell me what you do when you feel frustrated because things aren't moving as fast as you want them to be. Anybody? Wow, this was a quick call. Love it. Sarah, you just got on here. She's like, what just happened? Love it. Oh, I can't hear you, sweetheart. I'm muted. No, we're all good. Okay. So Amy said, thank you for this. I needed to hear it. Amy's doing awesome with her nutrition. I'm proud of her. Yay.
But it's not like I'm not following it to a T. So to like hear other people struggling, it just makes you feel like you're not alone. Mm-hmm. And all those ideas that you gave us are like so good, like so good. And yeah, I think I'm gonna start following the timed nutrition because that's what I did. I need it to be so regimented, like, and that was like really the best for me. So
awesome.
Thank you for sharing, and thank you for keeping it real.
I think it's important to be reminded of the basics. Like, if you're not reminded of the basics, you just start to change it as you go. It's just like using those portion containers. You can measure them for a couple weeks and then stop measuring them because you're just eyeballing it, because that's good. You can do that. And then over time, you might be like 6 months into it and you realize you're stalling, but it's probably because you just have to go back and measure your food again because you're distorting what was once this big and now it's this big. You know, over the 6 months, you're distorting it. So going back to the basics, I think once in a while is really, really important. Anybody else? I think we're all good. I'm going to choose to go skiing today with my son. I skied once and it was horrible. So we're going to see what happens today. I'm very excited and very nervous at the same time. I have to do
pizza.
Okay, all right, I'll try.
Pizza.
I'm trying I don't like break my ankle or twist my knee and then, I'm going to be so scared. I went into it like a jerk last time. I was like, I'm coordinated. I got this. And I ended up underneath the ski lift multiple times on the bunny slope. So let's see what happens. Woo! All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you for joining me. Have an awesome Saturday and a great weekend. Bye.